Thank you so much, and good afternoon, or is it good evening, wherever you may be. You are welcome to today's webinar being hosted by the AFREhealth Southern Africa chapter, and I'm representing my co-lead. I'm Patricia Katoa Mkwato from Mlungwishu University now, Party University of Zambia, representing my co-lead, Professor Mahmoud from Mozambique. Our facilitator today is Professor Azwi. I call her, that's much easier, Azwi Mavhandu-Mudsuzi from University of South Africa, UNISA. And we are going to have two moderators, Dr. Selina Mudau from KZN, KwaZulu-Natal, and Dr. Loveness, Anila, Nkhata from the University of Zambia. And we are discussing this afternoon an important matter for academicians and even for practitioners, application of ethics in an African rural context. Very interesting, not ethics in general, but we want to apply to the African rural context. So you are all welcome. May I now invite our presenter to take up the platform. And when the presenter has completed, the two moderators, please go ahead and moderate the session. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And kindly accept my apology. My mom is in hospital. So when Dr. Mudau phoned, I was still busy assisting her, and I forgot all about academics. You know, when parents come, parents first and everything later. So my apology for that. But that's being a nurse. You will always be a nurse even when there are nurses who are caring. So my presentation, let me see if I can share it. Share the screen.
Okay.
Is it visible?
Yes.
Okay, let me just show from the beginning. There's something which is covering my screen. Okay. There's something, okay, slideshow, at least. I can't see the slideshow. You'll pardon me, I'll present the way it is. Okay, I'm going to focus on ethics in African rural context. Sorry, colleagues, for this. The slide is just not moving for now.
Prof, maybe you could turn the PowerPoint off and then turn it on again.
Send it to,
or you can turn it off and then try to project it, yes.
From the beginning.
Do you want me
are you seeing it now?
Okay. Yes, yes.
Okay,
it's on
now I think so why this ethics? It is fundamental. I just want to block something which is blocking me. I don't know what is it. To mostly find that people are focusing on universal ethics, but this universal ethics principle, where we find that we are trying by all means to minimize harm and maximize benefit, but the focus is on the individual. Ms. Mudau, I think, Dr. Mudau, I think I will let you share. It's okay. It's like it blocks and unblock. So this ethics mostly focus on an individual, and I'm skipping some of the general ethics things, which you know, like definition of ethics, which I think almost everybody knows what ethics is. and also different type of ethical principle, which I'm aware that people are know, but I can just revise them for you, like autonomy, where we need to treat a patient or an individual participant as an autonomous agent, not focusing on other people around that person. There's also issues of beneficence, where we focus, want to see that when we are conducting whatever ethics, it should have positive contribution and to the welfare of the people. So that's important, and that's what we need to consider. There's also issues of non-maleficence, where we try by all means to avoid harm. I'm trying to minimize, to hide the sum so that it shouldn't forget and disturb me. Then issues of non-maleficence, where we're supposed to avoid harm, because it's unethical to harm the patient, or to involve the participant in such a way that towards the end, instead of them benefiting, they are harmed, their health can deteriorate, or any other thing, or even their name, because sometimes it might not be physical harm, but social harm. Then also issues of justice, where we find that when we are conducting research, it should benefit everyone. And also the issue of not involving only similar people when we want to do research, like mostly when we want to test a specific type of treatment. You find that they will go directly to similar people, maybe who are in rural, whereas that is going to benefit the whole world. So for justice purpose, we must make sure that the risk are distributed. And sometimes with us as academics, every research will be focusing on students, whereas we know that even people in the community can give us that information. So that's when we need to consider the issue of distributing the risk among all the individuals. It's frozen again. And then there are also basic ethics principles, which I think also we all know about that. Respect for an individual, issues of confidentiality, issues of informed consent, and voluntary consent, where a person is not forced due to circumstances, issues of respect. And that's where my presentation will focus most on respect for cultural differences, because what you might think is respect in Western culture, you may find that we are harming people or disrespecting people. And when we talk about respect, we also need to respect sacred things of the community, not just coming and say and share whatever you want to share about the community, whereas those people do not want it to be shared. And also making sure that if they say this is their secret, I know the other time when I went to Swaziland, they say Swazi secret. So if they say it's their Swazi secret and you take it and you share it, that's disrespect. Then also issues of justice, fairness, being objective, sense of integrity, and being transparent. You need to tell people what type of research are you doing, how are they going to benefit, and because there are some people who will just go, they conduct research, towards the end, they publish research, or the findings, whereas they've not discussed anything with their participants. And you need to minimize the risk. We've already mentioned that, and avoid exploitation of participants. I've given example of exploiting patients, exploiting community members, exploiting, some people will just, like in institution of higher education, everything a person will be focusing on staff members, which is also a problem. Or if you are a lecturer, you focus on student, is a problem. If you are a nurse in the community, you find that you'll focus on specific people, whereas everybody will benefit. So we consider that as an exploitation. But how do we implement this principle in rural African context? Because all what we've been talking about, respect is mostly for individual. Confidentiality is focusing on individual. Non-maleficence is on an individual. The issue that maybe if you are dealing with a person who is HIV positive and you are sharing maybe the status, you think only of the patient, not of all the people around her. Sometimes you find that when people are dead, you'll share whatever you say because the person is gone, forgetting that there are a lot of people who are linked, and this usually occur in African rural contexts where one is linked to somebody else. Then when we come to confidentiality in rural context, it's not for an individual, but you find that in African context, people are so connected to significant others. I just gave you the example of saying, my mom is in the hospital, I'm caring for my mom. The bed is always full, the cousin, the what. Other people, we don't link the relationship, but because an individual is linked to the community, every member is affected by her illness, meaning that even if we're doing research, we should know that in African context, we are interlinked. Then issues of safety. When we are doing focusing on safety, you should not consider the safety of an individual only, but also you make sure that the issue of safety of the community, because people they don't mind. They'll go to a community, they find one person who is smoking maybe crystal or any other forbidden drug like cats, like dagga. Instead of dealing with the individual, they will share it to everyone in the community. And when they're sharing it to everyone in the community, you're not sharing it to everyone in the community, they'll go and share it in public that in that specific village, there is utilization of dagga while they've only found one person, meaning that now the entire community is tarnished. But in Western area, type of safety is only safety of that individual. So I'm bringing these to say, when you are dealing with ethics in African context, you need to consider the relations and the interlinkedness. Then, because it's very, very much important to make sure that the society is respected, the community is respected. But when we don't respect the community, we find that we end up exacerbating the stigma and discrimination. Like in rural area, there are villages or yes, where you find that there are some rituals which are performed instead of saying these rituals are. respected for that very community. They will be shared and they will be undermined by people who don't even know. And people might end up saying that village, that entire village, people are witches or any other type of stigmatization. So also when we talk about beneficence, when we're dealing with it is helpful to take the community's right and the group from which participants are assembled into consideration when you are developing contextual and culturally relevant intervention. Because if you consider only the individual, you'll find that sometimes what you are doing, it end up benefiting an individual, whereas the entire community is suffering. So I'm bringing this, like, let's say I'm going to conduct research in a specific village, and I realize that people there, a patient I'm dealing with, or a participant I'm dealing with, is starving. What I'm expected to do is not to deal only with that starving person. That person has children. That person has other family members. So when we're talking about beneficence, it should benefit the entire community which you are working with. Then also the issues of not individualism. As long as we are working in rural area, because I've already mentioned the issues of, we don't focus on individual, but we focus on community, meaning that even when we are doing ethics clearance or ethics application, we should not consider only the individual, but we should also consider the independence, interdependence of people involved. I'll give you example of what I'm talking about when we continue. Like the most distinguishing characteristic of Africans, specifically Black Africans, is the sense of belonging to a community and interdependence. So if we consider that and we consider issue of an individual belong to a clan, an individual's achievement is also societal achievement. An individual failure, it's not an individual failure, it's a societal failure. The moment we consider that, it means that whatever we are doing to be ethical, we should not focus only on the individual, but we should be broad enough to know that it affects the community. I want to give you this scenario so that after reading this scenario, it will assist us to it will. There's somebody talking.
Please mute yourself. Thank you.
Thank you. I want to give you this scenario, like as a researcher at one of the university in South Africa. I visited a rural village to conduct a study. On my arrival, I met a headman who was expected to usher me to the chief. The headman mentioned that I should give him a goat before he would usher me to the chief. I was so shocked and told the headman that nobody said anything about a goat. I also told the headman that even if I was told in advance about the goat, I would not have done it since it is wrong. According to the ethical principle of voluntary participation, giving him a goat will be like bribing him to coerce people to participate in the study. The headman looked at me and said, "This is a royal kraal. you do not just enter barehanded. He further emphasized using the following Venda idiom. Panda handao ahu iwi usnachikuni. Literally meaning that one cannot go in front of the lion without a firewood. This means that you cannot meet the king without having anything in your hand. So when we look at the scenario, it still continues. After I gave her the headman, in fact, before I gave the headman, because I was refusing, he continued talking to me and say, Womakhazi, like referring me to me as an aunt, which is a prestige status among Mavenda ethnic group. He said, no, I will not take you to the chief without giving the goat. Then I say, the issues of goats, I'm not going to do. Then he insisted. Later I said, it's okay. I'll have to give you, how much is that goat? Because when I say, I don't even know the place, I don't even know the village, I don't even know where am I going to get a goat. He said, the goat is just 200 rand. So I ended up giving him that. And after, in fact, at first I asked him, what is the reason of giving that money? He said, it's a gate opener. So if you don't give me this money, I'm not going to allow you to enter the chief scroll. So I ended up giving him that money for the goat. And after that, he took the money and take me to the king. And on arrival to the chief scroll, the headman left me outside and entered the chief scroll. After a few minutes, he returned and mentioned that the chief wanted a cow before granting me approval to meet his people. When I was still astonished, the headman said that I must just give him 500 rand, which is equivalent to a calf. On receipt of 500, I was told that I should come back the following morning to communicate with the community elders about my research. The purpose of my research was to assess the attitudes of young women towards breastfeeding. Then the following day, I went there. When I arrived to start the discussion in the form of coro, like the gathering of community elder, I was requested to buy a bucket of African beer, or we call it mutomboti. Then also a case of cold drinks to go with that to meet the people. After buying the required drinks, I wanted to start the conversation, but I was told to change my attire as I was wearing a suit, a trouser and a jacket. And they said to me, they do not require a female who dresses like a male. Then on arrival, instead of me explaining the research to get informed consent, in fact, I've skipped the slides there. After I've given them whatever I have given, they mentioned that for me to go and meet the women, I need to go with the all elderly woman to interview the breastfeeding woman. So, which was like, it's piling up. It's like it's breaking everything I've learned as a researcher. So on arrival, instead of me explaining the research to get the informed consent, the elderly woman accompanying me was the one who asked the women to participate, and that really tell me everything. Yeah. Hello? Okay. Am I still audible?
Yes, please.
Okay, it's fine because I was temporarily muted. So during the interview, the older woman will keep on encouraging the woman to talk and not to be ashamed. Sometimes the elderly woman even reminded the woman about other incidents. After the interview, the headman wanted the report on what the young woman had said. After providing the report, I was given a live chicken as a token of appreciation from the chief's crawl. My slide is frozen again. So that was the first scenario. The second scenario was based on one of my students who was conducting a study on ethnography. Her focus was on Mavhandu cultural practices, which may have an impact on HIV/AIDS management. Her key informants were traditional healers, traditional leaders, and community elders who were knowledgeable of Mavhandu cultural practices and tradition. On the day she visited one of the traditional healers, she was instructed to take off her shoes on her arrival. After taking her shoes, she was shown an animal skin to sit on. After sitting down, the traditional healer requested for mvulamlomo, literally meaning a mouth open. She was amazed and asked what a mouth opener is. And she was told that this is the money which is supposed to give before the traditional healer even opened the mouth to talk to her. Then she excused herself to come and call me and say, Prof, what do I do in these instances? Then I told her, you know what, whatever they are requesting her, she should do that unless if it is against her cultural practices. So she was requested to provide 100 rand. So she got there, if the 100 rand, but the reason for her to come and ask me was thinking what she's going to do is violating also ethical principle. So when she returned, she put 100, she wanted to give the traditional 100 rand. Then the traditional healer said, put the money down. Then she put the money down, and later the traditional healer opened her, what is it? Her instrument, like, I don't know how to say it in other language, but it's a bag which is having bones and everything. So she was requested to blow those bones, and she said, I've never done this before. I've never done this. I can't even blow on those bones. Then the traditional healer say, it means you are not interested. We won't assist you. Then after thinking of what I said, whatever she has told you, you should do. Then she blew the bones. And after blowing the bones, the traditional healer said, you are not heavy. The ancestor has permitted me to talk to you. Then the interview continued. So if we judge the above scenario, one which I have experienced while I was in a royal family, and the one which was experienced by my student while she was dealing with the traditional healer, you find that we have violated all ethical principles because we have given incentives. Issues of respect, we are not respecting our participant, because I went to interview the participant with an elderly woman, and also confidentiality, it was violated because it was not only the elderly woman who was there during the interview, but after the interview, I had to report to the headman what we have discussed. of informed consent. Women were not given maybe chance because the elderly community elder was there who was saying, yes, participate, tell her this. So they were not participating voluntarily, and issues of justice. But when we are looking at it, focusing on African rural context, we were completely ethical, because when you go to African context, you need to put on attire which shows respect to the people. If in their village they say female are not allowed to put on trousers, you need to follow that, and that will be what we call respect. Issues of gate opener. I think whenever we are doing everything, let's say somebody is coming to the institution or the hospital, you'll say, don't talk to me, first go to the matron, to the hospital manager. So also the issues of gate opener is their way of respect. That's why we had to pay that. Then issues of veranda stepping. For you to enter their house, they wanted to pay us to pay something called kandamuta or veranda stepping. So when you are paying that, it's showing respect in their culture. Somewhere when you go to other churches, you are also allowed to put off the shoes. So, but if you just say, I'm stepping there, it's disrespect. And even if it's from biblical point of view, I remember when the Lord was talking to Moses, remove your shoes, this place is holy. So when vendor people are saying the place is holy, you shouldn't just step without paying. Doing that is respect. Issues of participant entizer, where we were giving them the African drinks, the cold drinks and whatever. It's showing respect to their cultural practices, and issues of doing research at the place where they are more comfortable and when they are at home. And in rural cultural area, you are even allowed to collect data when people are busy with their course, because you may find that for people in rural area to get their daily routines, maybe it will be to go to the river to fetch water, to go and gather the wood, to cook. But the moment you take 1 hour from that woman's schedule, you have disturbed the whole day. So as a researcher, we might even be forced to collect data accompanying them. When they're busy collecting the wood, you can even collect with them, assist them together while you are they're giving you information. Instead of saying we'll maintain solar, sit squarely facing the participants, open posture, which for them is not working. And also issues of, let's say, open posture, non-folding the hands. In our culture, if I folded the hands, it's a sign of respect, because we've even been taken to traditional school to be assisted to fold the arms. And so that's why I'm saying mostly what we think is the respect in English or in UK or in ethics, wherever our ethics which we are using is coming from. Most of the things is disrespect to people in rural context. So points to consider is that when you are conducting the study in a rural area, you need to know the context, and you also need to know their point of view, because sometimes some of the are exacerbating the issues of gender-based violence. Is when women are doing what they're expected to do, or people in their culture are expected to behave the way they are behaving, and you say you are being undermined. And the moment you start violating those cultural practices, you are bringing a problem to a community. And also the issue of when you are presenting the results, you must present the results in a non-discriminatory and non-judgmental manner. Those who saw my previous presentation, you saw that towards the end, I lie on my side to say thank you, which I'll still do today with my final slide. Somebody from other area will say, yo, those people, they're so undermined, they even sleep on the floor. But in our culture, we know that sign of respect and we do it voluntarily. Then also when you are maybe, mostly when you are collecting data, in English context or European context, you might need to refer a person to a psychologist or a social worker. But in this area, you find that the old woman is already there who will be supporting that woman. So, and which is very, very important. And the other thing, you find that in Western culture, you are not supposed to play both role of being a counselor and also of being a researcher. But when you bring this to African rural context, you need to give immediate relief. If you are collecting data and a person starts to cry, you sit there, you do the counseling, then you continue research. If you go there, you find that the people are hungry. You can't come back and tell us they're so starving. Researchers are not journalists. You need to provide whatever, or you link them to relevant people who are going to submit or to bring support to that area. As a way forward, instead of following the deontological research paradigm, which emphasizes strict adherence to the codes and guidelines as prescribed, we must focus on flexible research paradigm, which is based on relational ethics. The relational ethics focus on the individuals in relationship with other people, the family and the entire community and the population. This type of relational ethics is not static, but complex and situational, depending on the individual's interaction with significant others. Relational ethics is mostly not guided by strict ethical rules, but by an individual and social conscience in relation to a specific situation. The aspect of relational ethics is based on humanity, where a conscious researcher could not interview the mother and leave the family whose child is starving without providing assistance. Besides collecting data, the researcher following relational or situational ethics may need to find a solution for additional problems. For example, in one of my community engagement projects, where the focus was on the prevention of HIV through educating life orientation educators to offer contextually relevant HIV education, I noticed during my visit to the school that the learners were living in poverty-stricken community. Like, this is the situation I got. So I cannot leave this gross poverty without doing anything. If you look at their uniform, their everything. But as a researcher, you'll just say, I was there focusing on educators and not focusing on this other relationship. That's not ethics which we want when we're dealing with the rural context. When you see context like this, as a researcher, you need not say, I was just here for educators. The rest is not my business. It becomes your business if you are doing relational ethics. That's why after seeing that circumstances, I couldn't just go and relax and sleep. I had to link with people, with get funding we ensure that learners have uniform. But if it was the way we were supposed to do it, in a Western manner, you go there, you go and report like a journalist and you go. But that's my argument is when you are applying the universal principle of ethics blanketly in a country with so much diversity, it's not helpful, as it might only be relevant to a few individuals, while some community and ethnic groups are being exploited and disrespected. As a researcher, we should apply congruent ethical approaches to a diverse African context. We don't do one size fits all. That shoe might fit somebody else, but not everybody. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Prof, for the educative and wonderful presentation. We have learned a lot, and I should say there are a lot of similarities from the area where we are coming from in Zambia. And I think even when it comes to ethical approaches, the information that you have shared with us is cross-cutting in most of the cultures, especially the culture that I come from. At this moment, I would like to invite Selina to take over from me and take it up to invite questions from the audience. Selina, are you on the line, Dr. Madu?
Yes, Loveness, I'm on the line. I'm here.
All right, thank you. May you please take it up there?
Thank you so much, Prof. Azwi, for this insightful presentation, which is much relevant to us as African scholars who are still going to conduct research within our context, and more so when our context is the one that is most accessible for us. And then again, our context is the one that is mainly highly spoken about. Everything for us, it says to be high, this kind of mobility high, this kind of incident high. Thank you so much for this. I think we are enlightened going forward. So colleagues, without any further ado, can I get your questions, your remarks, your comments after this insightful presentation by Prof. Azwi?
Selina, before we get to the questions,
Okay.
I just realized one thing that Prof did not really introduce herself. So before we get into the questions, maybe I should just give a small biography about Prof. Mavhandu, so that the audience is aware of who has been talking to us about the ethical implications in our context and in particular Africa. So ladies and gentlemen, the Prof. Mavhandu is very renowned. When we look at grants, which we boast about in academics, she has to name more than 10 grants. And these grants are not just little grants. I think the lowest is about 50,000 rands, and the rest go upwards. So she has done very well in that area. And when it comes to her region here in South Africa, she is an established NRF rated researcher. NRF is National Research Fund of South Africa rated researcher, which means she is highly esteemed. And when she looks for funding, they easily entrust her with that kind of funding, which I have talked about. That's the reason why she has over 10 grants to her name. And she is a director of the School of Social Sciences in the College of Human Sciences. As you saw from her presentation, her research focuses on HIV and the other gender groups. And she has focused really in the rural community, and that's the reason why she was asked to give the presentation that she has just given unto us. In terms of publication, she has published more than 94 articles in peer-reviewed journals. She has 7 chapters in books, and she has 3 books to herself. In terms of academic supervision, she has supervised to completion more than 21 doctoral students and over 30 master students. And apart from that, she has sustained her academic excellence record, which is evidenced in her winning several research-related awards, apart from the fundings that I have talked about. She boasts of the Chancellor's Award of Excellence in Research. She's a champion of research capacity development and transformation at Southern African public science research institutions, which is well recognized by the NRF institution. At her university, she boasts of the Chancellor's Calabash Award, the National Department of Science, Technology and Women in Science Award. There are so many, the list is endless. I think, Dr. Madu, let's go with the questions because the list is endless. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Yes, indeed. We are blown out by the person who has been sharing the knowledge with us today. As I'm waiting for the hands to be raised, I will go to the chat box where I'm seeing, I'm not sure if Winifred was able to handle the translation aspect that was here. I'm sorry I did not see it in time. The comment that is here from Augustine, it says, a good discussion here, but I think the handling of community entry and gatekeeping issues are different from real ethical issues in research. Procedures for handling gatekeepers should be planned during the design of research, incorporating risk management components into the protocol. Then Hamido says, thank you for this nice presentation. The question is, do we need to carry out a preliminary investigation such as anthropological research before getting into the field? Prof. Mavhandu, I hope you are keeping this. Let me get to the second one, and then you will respond to this to the two of them. Prof. Mahmudo says, good discussion. The question is, do we consider 2 different ethics, one rural and other, let's say, Occidental ethics? Prof. Azwi, there's a question here. 2, the other one was a comment, but the question here, if I may to repeat, is, do we need to do a preliminary on anthropological research?
I think that's very, very much important to say. But also, when you are even doing that preliminary, you can't do it maybe without having to undergo all those things. So, or because if you say you are going to check the culture, unless if you are just reading it, but the moment you say it's preliminary research, automatically is saying you are studying people. So the issue is you might study maybe by reading what are the cultural practices and whatever. But if you say you are going to that village, you are going to meet all those cultural practices. So if preliminary research means studying it before going, that will be perfect. But if you just want to first go and sit in the village to study the culture without permission from the community, that will still be disrespect. So that's the issue. That's why sometimes we emphasize that instead of people coming from other countries who don't understand the culture, a person from Western area or Western background, when they come to see what we are doing. They will just make it negative, 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 and cancel our normal way of life because they're judging it from their point of view. So the issue is, as a researcher, you need to know the culture, which is very true, and also respect the culture, which is very, very important. Then you mentioned the second question, which was saying, do we need to have two types of culture, ethics? The issue is at our university now, after my research, I went to challenge the university research ethics policy to say it should be flexible, so that it allows things like gate opener, mouth opener, or whatever type of opener the patient might need to do. So if it's related to budgeting, when you're budgeting for research grants, you might, for research, you might also include that, because we are not sure of how much, but that should be a tentative fund to say, should I find all those cultural practices expected for me? Let it be allowed, and let the students not be punished like she has violated the ethics principle, because ethics is about respecting your participants. So when you are going there and do what the community requires you to do, is the way of being ethical. So what we need to do is just to challenge some of the ethics principles which are making us to be, I don't want to say a stereotype, but to think that that shoe which I've shown you there will fit everybody.
Thank you so much, Prof. If you are not answered, you are welcome to make a follow-up. I'm going down to the chat box. Please, if you have a question that you want to speak up, please raise up your hand while I'll be reading on the chat box. Then Dioshima says, a very appropriate discussion. Now, research likes credible citations and use of known methods. No, with some of approaches discussed here, who do we cite? Though making a lot of sense, since we are Western heavy, some of our approaches might be questioned. How do we overcome this? Prof, can you respond to that one? Yes, I'm searching for this one.
Okay. Are you hearing me?
Yes, yes, you are audible.
Hello?
Yes, Prof, can hear you.
Okay. That's why I said some of the things is just to challenge the ethics policies, because ethics policies have been written by people who were basing this on their individualism. Like in the Western area, you find that people might not even know their neighbor. People might not even stay with their parents. It's just that it is the individual, but not the community. So for you to be safe, we may need to challenge all those ethical principles which are not flexible and which are not considering our context.
Okay. I hope you are answered. Thank you so much, Prof. The other question coming from Tendai says, in terms of offering immediate interventions such as uniforms alluded to, how would you deal with this in instances where doing so may contaminate the results of the research underway?
Okay, thank you very much. Maybe if that person can even explain, because how, when say contaminating, we have conducted the research, we have found the poverty. So finding poverty is the findings which we wanted to find, or is the relevant research findings. So, meaning that when we are now providing uniform or providing food, we are doing the intervention. So we are not contaminating because you have seen the circumstances. Now you are coming with an intervention. There's a research, what is it? Research design, which I've just written on cyclical ethnographic design, longitudinal cyclical ethnographic design, where I was saying you don't just go conduct research and leave. You go, you find whatever you found, you go with the intervention, you go back again, you reassess, you come back with intervention. Because what is currently happening with most of the research, Dr. Mudau will go and conduct research in, let's say, in Chikui village. Her findings will say Chikui is, people at Chikui are very poor. There's no school uniform, there's nothing. She goes. 5 years later, I still go there. I still, it's not Selina now, it's me. When I go there, I still record the same thing. So it's like we're just going to harm the society for giving us information, but they're not benefiting. So if Dr. Mudau have conducted research 5 years ago, when I go back, there should be a change. If we as researchers are ethical and also focusing on issues of humanity or ubuntu.
Prof,
Hello?
are you done? Are you there?
Yes, yes.
Oh, okay, fine. Tendai came back to say this could be, she's clarifying or he's clarifying, saying this could be an RCT with a control arm where no intervention is expected until the research is over. Can we offer uniforms in the control arm? Tendai, are you able to speak up on your mic?
Hi, how are you? Good afternoon, good evening,
There you
colleagues.
are. Go on. Interact with
Yes,
Prof.
so very interesting. Apparently, I happen to be scheduled to be doing one of my researches in a rural setting. So these questions are very pertinent. So I was just giving this as an example. Suppose it's a randomized control trial where you want to keep the control site as intervention free as possible for quite a while, until maybe you get your results, and then maybe you actually discover the poverty, etc. So would that not then end up contaminating the results because of the nature of the design in RCT, for instance? Thank you.
Thank you. That might be another issue, but sometimes when you are doing these randomized controlled trials and you just leave people, I mean the ones who are not having intervention, you leave them for 6 months, you find that in the process some might even die while you want to save the world. So I don't know what to say in that issue, but if you consider the issues of morality and ethicality, if you see that it's a crisis, this cannot wait for the study to be completed. You might intervene somehow. I don't know how.
Thank you. There seems to be not really a question that is an answer that is cast on a stone for this one. I think it will have to go with the assessment of the person of what is needed at the time. Prof, there's a question here which says, in the African context, is it allowed in ethical point of view to pay transport for a research implementation project that benefits communities?
Thanks for that. I'm not sure. Is it related to paying transport for participants? If it's related to participants, yes. Participants who are coming to a study, this one is not only when we're considering the rural one, our African context, but even from Western point of view, your participant might need to be given transport. And if maybe they will be with you for the entire day, they are also expected to be given a lunch. Otherwise, you are violating the issues of malefficience, because you are harming them. They're coming to assist you, but they're using their money to come and assist the researcher. So that compensation needs to be done.
Thank you so much, Professor, for responding to our questions that way. If there are any other questions, colleagues, you are welcome to raise your hands. There's a very beautiful
sorry,
comment.
I want to raise my hand, but I can't see the symbol. So permit me just to add to what Prof has said regarding transportation. Okay, so like Prof rightly said, the issues of transport and transportation reimbursement is not the same as enticement. So we're not enticing them. And like she said, there's a principle that supports giving them back transport. And you could also, there are studies that have cited giving in support of what you have done. You can cite similar studies that have refunded transport and given lunch or snacks to participants. I think it's allowed to some extent, yes. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you so much. And I don't see any hands raised, but there's a one beautiful comment here that says, Prof, that's a very tall curriculum vitae. Congratulations from the speaker who just left now. In the absence of any questions, any comments, I would like to appreciate this time that we had from AFREhealth. And we as the moderators, we want to appreciate you, colleagues, for giving us this opportunity to moderate this session. And we hope we have done well, and we really need your feedback as well as moderators. And Prof. Patricia, can you take your time, pass the vote of thanks, or anyone from the executives? Thank you. I'm talking muted. Prof. Kato, are you there? If she cannot, Prof. Mahmuda.
Hello, is Prof.
Oh,
there?
yes. There. Thank you, Prof. Thank you, Prof. Georgina. Go on.
All right. On behalf of AFREhealth, there's a governing council, the secretariat, the Southern African Regional Chapter. I wish to express our appreciation to all of you for participating in this wonderful webinar. Prof did the first webinar on grants writing. It was great. And she offered, but this was a proposal from her, so she offered to do this additional one, which it's also great, and you have participated, and I'm happy that we don't have only people from Southern African Regional Chapter, because Doshima is from West Africa Regional Chapter. So we've got people from Central Africa Regional Chapter also joining. Our Central Africa Regional Chapter members, we are sorry that we couldn't bring the translator. We were checking, but the feedback we got it just from a few people, and it was difficult for us to get the translation. So we've decided to work on that. Subsequent webinars will bring the translators. So what I would say is that when you get the materials, that's the slides, you can do a translation. But the way Prof has made it, it's detailed. So you'll be able to get the information from there. That will also be very helpful to you. So forgive us for that. But we thank you all for this wonderful thing. We thank Southern Africa Regional Chapter for always bringing us the best. We encourage all members to fully participate in the activities of the chapter. If you are not on the platform, please do well to join the WhatsApp platform, because a lot of discussions go on over there. If you are not a member of AFREhealth, we are also encouraging you, as you complete the evaluation form, leave your email address so that we can reach out to you on how you can become a member of AFREhealth. Finally, Prof, very grateful to you for such exciting, educating webinars you've been doing, and for this one also. I wish we had a lot of our students also here, because it's very good also for them to hear. But I believe that when we share the recording on our various platforms, the students there will also learn from that. So we are very grateful to you, Prof. And we know this is not going to be the last time. If you have more, please let us know, and we'll be happy to learn from you and improve on what you are doing. So thank you, everyone. Our moderators, we are very grateful to you for the wonderful work that you've also done. Thank you, and enjoy the rest of your day and the rest of the week. Bye, everyone.
Bye. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Let us give the electronic clapping for Prof and the AFREhealth.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
And